Dave Brower, GardenStateHSWrestling.com, Near Fall Podcast. Thank you for joining us. It is district weekend, our wrap-up. A really good set of district matches going on. I know there was a little bit of a controversy with some of the districts because apparently in the language with the regulations from earlier in the year, the NJSIA wasn't officially recognizing a team district champion. A lot of them still went through with it. So my predictions were up Friday. I should have my how did I do? They should be up in the next, by the time you're seeing this or a little later today. Did really well in most districts. Some was a little, those are usually the ones where I don't get to see a lot of all the teams. I see some of them. But before we get into that, we got to get into our sponsors. The two big sponsors who have been there for us all year, Dan Warnikoff, Champion Athletes. I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I'm going to hammer this point home. Wrestling is such a sport that takes everything, the emotions, the training, everything else. Why would you then self-sabotage yourself by putting horrible stuff in your body and not giving yourself the best chance to succeed? Dan Warnikoff will help you with the meal plans. He's going to help you get to the weight you want to do with a descent plan and help you feel energized afterwards. You don't want to drop a lot of weight and then feel completely exhausted. Dan will help you get better. And you could be a wrestler, you could be a hockey player, football player, in-state, out-of-state. You don't even have to be an athlete. Dan will help you get to where you need to go. So check him out. Big supporter of what we do here at GardenStateHSWrestling.com. Dan Warnikoff. And the Harrington companies, the construction, the recycling, Hoffman Landscaping. Big proponents of what we do. They actually helped us with their donation, improve our camera equipment. If you got a chance to see the live stream we did from Roxbury, I was shocked watching it on camera. Not saying we didn't have great equipment before, but just the beautiful view. Like it was almost, you want to almost feel like you're there. And I think we did that yesterday with what we did at District 7. It was a good time there, but thank you to the Harrington company for their support. Speaking of District 7, that's where I was calling the action. I was with Luke Drugak. It's funny because he couldn't make it. Some plans changed. He wound up getting in there. I was really happy to have him involved. He's wrestled in that district before. He's from former Morris Knowles alum. If you don't know who he is, his brother and Dean and him both finished second in states their senior year before continuing on the Old Dominion to finish their career. They've both gone into the law enforcement aspect. So it's always good to see those guys. And, I've been covering them since they were freshmen. So it's always good to catch up with him and his family. His father's a great man. He's always super nice and, nice to talk to. And it's always good to see those moments. Had a really good district. Morris Knowles actually wound up coming away with the win. It really was coming down to the end. It was between them and Morris Hills heading into the finals. They had kind of paced themselves out. And there were a few Morris Hills finalists and Morris Knowles finalists. But Knowles kind of traded a pin back with Hills in back-to-back matches. So they ran away with the title second year in a row. Congratulations, Coach Vasily, for that program. It's kind of back on the upswing. It's got a couple of really talented guys, some good seniors in there. I would not be surprised if some of those guys make a run in Atlantic City and not make the podium, could possibly, but will represent that program really well. Like I said, the other district we were at, District 4, Jefferson winds up taking that team title. Nothing to take away from Jefferson. I thought Wayne Hills would, just because when you pick the winners, it doesn't make sense for me and for you as a reader if I pick Wayne Hills to have 5 champions and then I say they're not going to win the team title. Just numbers don't make sense. So Jefferson, congratulations to Coach Moscatello. Great season he had, with that team, and he's got some individuals going forward, obviously down there. Some of the winners they had, honestly, the guy who stood out for me, and, we'll talk about him in a minute, but they had some really quality wrestlers advanced down. I don't want to jump ahead and name anybody, but a couple other districts I kind of kept my eye on. First, we're going to head to District 9 in Nutley. This is the district that not bothers me, but I always kick myself when I make my predictions. So as I'm doing my predictions, Del Barton's there. So I obviously understand a Vasquez, a Davi, a Wazalewski, a Perret, and Sergio Ruiz, a Forte. Those guys are going to win their titles. It's not a shock. Daniel Jones, guys like that, not a shock to me. So as I'm looking at 126 and 132, I was sitting there and I'm just pondering it. And my wife goes, "What are you pondering?" This always happens with Del Barton. There's always a guy who maybe through seeding or whatever doesn't get where you think they're going to be. And you're like, I don't know if they're going to make it. Then all of a sudden they wind up winning it. It happened here. You got Chase Quisenant from Del Barton winning at 126. Trevor Jones, who I had the hardest time not putting in the finals at the MCT in that bracket, but it was a really tough bracket. He wins at 132. Vincent Lee wins at 190. So Del Barton had 13 champions and qualified 14 because Connor Martin finished second in heavyweight. So 14 wrestlers going to regions next week for them. So, they're going to be at Region 3 at West Orange. Great job by Del Barton, as always, and, really solid rebound from their loss in the group championships. But a really good job there by Del Barton. Another district 8 at Fairlawn. Congratulations to the Mount Olive group. You got Tyler Hagginson winning at 113, Jack Bastorica winning at 132. And then up top, Tyler Bienes, Nico Gonzalez, and Anthony Moscatello winning titles from 175 to 215. Just been a really good run for Mount Olive. And, they wound up winning the team title down there, but they're moving on and they got a good group, coming home. They don't got to go too far. They're hosting the region. So, it's going to be a nice little home match for those guys. The biggest one that I also kind of want to take a look at and see how it went was District 5. Now, before I get into that district, Bergen Catholic won it. And for a lot of people, I posted a tweet Friday that I got some information from some parents. I'm not going to disclose, it's off the record, but I got some information from some parents about an email that was sent out regarding Coach Bell's Coach Bell stepping down. People have been asking me what the situation is or what I've heard. So I'm going to tell you what I've heard. This is not official. This is what I've heard from parents and people in the situation. So it's, they've told me this. They kind of mentioned, hey, this is what happened. This is what we were told by the kids. From what I was told, there were wrestle-offs scheduled for early in the week for districts. Certain wrestlers who were going to be wrestling off didn't know that, according to what they're saying. So one wrestler wasn't at his weight because he didn't think he had to wrestle off, and there were two others who weren't going to be able to make it. From what I was told by an unnamed source, Coach Bell then said those matches would count as forfeits, the other persons would advance. So they told their parents, and then the parents got involved, and then the coach moved the wrestle-offs a day to Friday, from what I'm told. And then Friday came in, the athletic director stepped in and says, we're not going to have those wrestle-offs. And then shortly after, the email came out. I don't know what happened. I don't want to get speculative about the situation or anything. A lot of people online have been comparing it to what happened with Coach Bell with the lawsuit recently. Not a connection at all from what I've heard. There's no, 2 and 2. People are trying to take little pieces and put it together and create a puzzle. Not like that at all, from what I'm understanding, completely unrelated. It's still a developing story, obviously. I just know he, stepped down the night before district, which is unheard of realistically, but also, it's a coach's career. I'm not going to speculate on what I've heard different ways. And until I get concrete proof, it's really unjust for anybody to say anything otherwise. So I'm going to wish Coach Bell well. I've met him a few times. I've awarded him the top team in the state award for the New Jersey Wrestling Writers Association that I'm a part of. So I've given him the trophy. Always been super nice to me. Always said hello. So, I wish him best and whatever he decides to do next, whether that's, retire, whether he winds up coaching somewhere else, we'll see. He had an amazing run and really elevated Bergen Catholic to that upper atmosphere and that echelon amongst top teams. So you'll be missed, Coach Bell. Now, talking about the district, you wonder if that kind of would have a hangover for, you find out your longtime coach steps down, see if that would hang over for Berg Catholic. They didn't miss a beat. Del Barton had 13 champions. They had 13 champions. They won every weight except 215. And at 215, it was a battle of state medalists with AJ Frachon from Bergen Catholic losing to Joseph Abill from Clifton. Abill, two-time medalist at heavyweight, dropped some weight and is now at 215. Looks lean and, lean and mean. And I've covered his matches 5 times. And I think I've seen him wrestle once because the other teams just forfeit to him. So, that'll be interesting to see how they do there. And they're going to move on to District 2 at Mount Olive. So we're going to see some really good matchups there and, see how everything goes. But it's going to be really good at the regions this weekend. We're planning right now on doing Region 1. We're waiting just on the approval. They got to just run it by and make sure none of the other like NJ.com or NFHS wants to live stream it. If not, we're going to be live streaming it the same way we did for the districts. We really hope everybody enjoyed our coverage of the districts. Like I said, I was on the call with Luke Drugak at District 7. James Clark was up at District 4. Him and Jared, the podcast international, did an amazing job. The feedback I've gotten from parents and administration for both have said what an outstanding job we did. But I do have a bone to pick a little bit with District 4. You feed James Clark and Jared Clemens, but this fat guy can't get a piece of pizza when he's up there? I'm kidding. Todd Van Orden does a great job and takes care of us. And the way not only Todd Van Orden up at Kittatinny, but Stu Mason down at Roxbury ran the tournament, very smooth. No glitches, nothing crazy. It went through well. They were very accommodating with what we did. So thank you very much, to those athletic directors and the coaches, Coach Gill and Coach Butler up at Kittatinny, DJ Roman down at Roxbury, and all the coaches at Roxbury who were there. And also a special, I'm not going to say why, but a special thank you to Coach McMickle from Parsippany for helping out with the situation. I really appreciate you stepping in that situation, and it means a lot. So thank you. When I usually try to look for my wrestler of the week when you get to districts and regions, it's tough because a lot of the wrestlers you see, you're going to see again, and it's redundant if you're talking to them as you get down the states. Because I know I'm going to talk to a Tyler Hagginson down at States. I know I'm going to talk to an Ethan Dawling. I know I'm going to talk to a Luke Stanich and, the guys from Del Barton and so on and so on. So when I was trying to put it together and think of who deserved it, James Clark actually came up with a name, and I conferred with Jared, who actually saw him wrestle live up at District 4. So my wrestler of the week for District Weekend is Joseph DiBiase, a great wrestler for Jefferson, who is not related to the $1 Million Man, even though he kind of joked with me about it because he knows I'm into pro wrestling. But Joseph DiBiase had a great run up there, wind up winning his weight. Late escape, James was telling me how the perseverance and the way he wrestled really impressed him. So congratulations, Joseph DiBiase. You're our wrestler of the week here for District Weekend on GardenStateHSWrestling.com. Now, like I said, we're going to be having, our updates on regions. We're going to try to do Region 1. That's not up to us. We are going to do the finals, very similar to how we did it this week. It's going to be myself and James Clark on the call, but really exciting weekend. I mean, I'm looking across the results, and there's a couple. Like I said, there was a couple little surprises as far as team stuff, but pretty much everything went to chalk for most of the weekend. So I'm kind of seeing we're gonna get a surprise. You always get a surprise. It's like, you're going to get one of those guys. And because if we knew who was going to win it all, it won't be the point of wrestling it. There's going to be somebody who you're just going to look and you go, wow, how did they win? Or wow, how did this happen? So, big weekend, coming up ahead, which we're just finishing up. It's basically the first part of the relay race. They just handed off the batons. And now we're going to have the next part, and then we're going to have the home stretch. So, like I said, tune in. We'll be doing Region 1. We're going to have another podcast next week. We're going to be doing a nightly podcast down at States that'll go up the next morning, just kind of recapping a little bit for the day. I know as far as the state tournament goes, I am going to try my best. Sometimes it doesn't work. I'm going to try to get not only interviews with every boys medalist and state champion, but every girls medalist and state champion. So we're going to try to get that all set up, and that'll go up as depending on how many we have, if we're going to do that as one podcast, or as we did 2 years ago when it was in Peaburg, we had a champions and a medalist, video up. But like I said, check us out on our social medias, on Facebook at Garden State HS Wrestling.com, on Twitter at Garden State HSW, on Instagram at Garden State HS Wrestling.com, and on YouTube. Like and subscribe. You'll know when we go live with these podcasts, when we have matches coming up, when we have any type of content. We're going to be putting out a lot of stuff coming up, because once the year ends in 2 weeks, it doesn't mean it's the end for me. We're going to have my all Passaic team, my all Morris team, my all Hunterdon Warren Sussex team. We're going to try to do something a little different this year. I'm going to see if I can pull it off. We're going to have our 10th anniversary All-Star match, the Garden State HS Wrestling.com All-Star Classic. Right now, we're looking and discussing with a couple places about a venue. We're aiming for May 6th. That's going to be the plan. We want to aim for May 6th for that. So we'll see how all that goes. But, we'll get that laid out. And then as far as the all-county stuff, we want to try to do some fun stuff. So that'll be fun for the different videos and see what we can do. But I had a hell of a weekend. And, on a personal note, thank you. I know he's on the other side of the camera far away, but Jared and James, great job at Kittatinny. They talked about how great everything was. The feedback has been amazing. So, I'm one of those people, especially who know me through other realms. I'm not one who could really be hands off with production. So it was good that I kind of didn't have to worry about it, because I knew James and Jared were going to handle it. And they're huge proponents and advocates and also helpers in what we do. So they deserve a big thank you too. So, like I said, we'll have everything going. We'll, keep checking in on the social medias, and we'll announce where we're going to be. But for Jared, the podcasting legend, James Clark, I'm Donald J. Brower. Time for Regions.